One man in his detector. Good to see you, William. Some very good uploads you did with the test. Very clear and straightforward for anyone to understand. Yeah, thanks. I know. After I did the free fall test with the air bubble, it just basically came to me. It's like, wait a minute, I could just show acceleration to show that the bubble, you know, goes in the direction of acceleration using the same setup, you know. So yeah, it was kind of like a chain of events, you know, just like motion, right? A chain of events. Something has to press on something else in order to, you know, create that chain reaction, right? Right. The thought process is kind of similar, right? Something triggers something else, and then that thought triggers another thought, right? So it's kind of like that. Well, yeah, thanks. So yeah, this is what the setup looks like. Let me give you guys a look real quick. Ah, fuck, how do I do this? Okay. Oh no. Yeah, so I'm at a usual spot that I usually post at. Students walk from all directions here. And there's a table right there. So if anybody's interested in having a chat and challenging their common sense, then this is the place. There it is. Patriot Games, explain Apple's apparent motion, please. Yeah, what's creating that motion if people claim it's a real motion and not just apparent, right? What's the cause? You have to be able to recreate that motion of the apple going in one direction and the helium and air in the opposite, you know? All right, let me set up the GoPro and set this whole up for anybody approaches, I guess. Well, I say for anyone to understand, but as we know, no, yeah, that's true. Jolly man. You like to deny reality, though. Alright, let me see if this is a good setup right here. I think it is. Move this a little bit more back. Yeah, should be good right there, I hope. Maybe a little this way. Alright, I think we're good. Kyle Zero Polo. Big bird.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, man? So you guys want to give it a shot?
Sure.
Two very easy multiple choice, you know,
Okay.
and they actually have to do with the orientation of water. So can we agree when water is contained and we have air and water, regardless of the orientation of the bottle, water will always go to the bottom and push the air to the top.
Yeah.
You know, that's a simple fact, you know. Anybody can understand that. So let me get these out. Since we understand that simple fact about water, you know, that it basically has one orientation when it's at rest, which one of these two, I'm showing them to you obviously, is not in the correct orientation? Which water bottle is not in the correct orientation?
Okay, so the water's like blue, like the
Yeah, the water's
one?
blue actually, yeah. I painted it
Just
with
making
food
sure.
coloring. Yeah, no, that's a good question, yeah, to make sure, yeah. I painted it with food coloring. I even added a floating apple there on the surface, you know, to make it easier, you know. So which one is not in the correct orientation?
Okay, this one from our angle it looks like it's in the correct orientation,
Okay.
but this could be flipped. Can I flip
Yeah,
it over?
definitely.
Okay.
I mean, since we understand that water always goes to the bottom, regardless of orientation.
Yeah, but you could be holding it up, and this one that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, because like
Yeah.
if you're holding it up, then obviously like the water's gonna be at the bottom, and the air's gonna be on top. And the floating in this one actually looks a bit more natural. So this one you're holding it from the, I think it's number 2.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Because
Because
I took it like this.
Yeah, because the floating in this one just doesn't like look like, I feel like, you know, this one looks more natural than the floating in
Sure,
this.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's just the camera's a little bit under, so you're seeing under the apple
Yeah,
a little bit
that-
more.
that could be it too,
That's the only
yeah.
reason. But yeah, you got it. I took this one like this.
Yeah.
So showing it like this will be in the incorrect orientation because
Yeah,
water
yeah.
doesn't stick to the top of bottles. You know, that doesn't happen. So you guys got it, yeah.
You carried me. I was just like, it's one of those.
No, okay, so this other one's even easier. Another thing about water is that it always finds its level,
Yeah.
especially when at rest, right? Because we could tilt the bottle, but the water always levels out.
Yeah.
Yeah. What could be another word for level?
I'm trying to think. It'd be like maintained.
Okay. Some people say equal.
Yeah.
Oh, the one word definition will be horizontal.
Yeah.
Because we could have a straight line, but if it's at a slope, it's not level. It has to be a horizontal straight line. You know?
Yeah.
So it has to do with orientation again.
Yeah.
Level. So since we understand the effect about water too, that it always finds its level, especially when at rest, which one of these two represents the level as we know it, A or B, when it comes to the water?
This is like going into the ocean.
Like a giant lake, for example.
Giant lake,
Yeah,
okay.
that's a body of water that's at rest, basically. Which one represents level as we
Okay,
know
and
it?
this is this is like the water level, just like the
Yeah,
surface
water,
of the water.
exactly,
I'm
exactly.
I'm gonna say A.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Would
yeah.
you agree?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the obvious one, right?
I was like, what? I was like, is this a trick question or
Yeah,
what?
okay.
It's not a trick question, but I will tell you this: over 95% of the population have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know is this one.
Yeah.
Because it's measurable, testable, and repeatable. You want to know how we were tricked?
How?
Do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
Yeah.
Right? So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth. So they need to know the radius of orbit if they're supposedly going around it. So they need to know the radius of the Earth. So they do tell us it's 3,159 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile. So in that first mile, there's an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches. And by the third mile, it's 6 feet. So that curvature has to increase because it's a curve that they're claiming, not a slope. So if we actually went out to a giant lake to measure for this curvature, they're telling us that the water's bending 6 feet in 3 miles, but we know that the water's going to be parallel to anything, you know, horizontal above it.
Yeah.
You know, and then water shows us that. So this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe of physical measurement of the Earth, water in specific, right? So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, what would be the #1 proof that convinces you or makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
I don't know. I mean, I guess kind of just what I grew up learning.
Okay, that's pretty honest. That's pretty honest. So it's just what you were told, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people would say images. That's like the #1 proof for most people, right? They'll say photographs, but in reality, they're actually images.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the difference. Image is actually they admit that they're images because they're made on a computer. So it's a CGI basically, a computer-generated image.
Yeah.
That's what an image is.
Yeah.
Usually made on a computer. So a photograph of the Earth from outer space doesn't exist for 2 reasons. For 2 simple reasons. One, obviously water doesn't bend, so the Earth is not a ball. And 2.
Yeah.
outer space as an environment that exists, like a negative pressure with other other balls, that doesn't exist. All of that is just imaginary. So anything you're seeing from outer space that, like, it's basically CGI, other than unless you're just seeing lights in the sky, like we see with the naked eye. So I mean, let me ask you guys this: do you think there's a possibility that we have been lied to about the shape of the Earth, or are you guys 100% convinced that it's a globe?
No, I'm convinced that it's a globe.
I'm pretty convinced.
So what convinces you then, if I may ask?
I mean, just
because you just said that you were just told that, right? And that's what you grew up believing.
Yeah, but then that's also what like all the top physicists believe too. Like from what I've seen, like all the top physicists and scientists, like not really any of them believe that it's flat.
Okay.
And, like,
well, I wouldn't say flat, because flat has nothing to do with orientation, and Earth has orientation.
It's a globe. My bad.
Yeah, the Earth has orientation.
Yeah.
Also, just considering that the other planets in the solar system are round, so.
You guys want to give this a read real quick?
Assuming that, why would we be of a super different orientation? We would probably be of that if that's how planets are.
So that's the thing. What I'm saying is, when it comes to looking at the sky and making up stories about the sky to basically back up another theory, so basically using theories to back up theories is not very logical, right? So if we're making claims about what water is doing in specific, which is bending, because that you need water to bend in order to make a ball, right? Then physically measuring water will be the number one experiment, in my opinion, to prove or debunk.
I think the main thing that like I would have against the concept of the Earth like not being like, I'll just say like the Earth being flat is just
level. Again, flat has nothing to do with orientation.
Yeah, like it's just like how like physics wouldn't really be the same without it. Like so much of physics is like reliant on the fact of just like just like gravitational orbit and like like stuff like that.
Okay, when you're talking about gravity, gravity is just a theory, right? Like so let me ask you this: what is gravity? If I was to ask you, what is gravity? When you use gravity,
gravity is a natural force that basically like not like in the Earth, like let's say 10 meters per second. It's just like natural like downwards force that pushes on something.
Okay, when you say force, before we go to the next one, what is a force?
A force is basically it's pushing a mass at a certain acceleration.
I'm glad you used the word push, because gravity claims to be a pulling force, which will be something invisible accelerating an object down without any pressure. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you knew, when you have holes in a bottle, water squirts out, right? Because there's pressure, right?
Yeah.
That's because the Earth is in constant motion. When you release the bottle, the water doesn't squirt out of the holes anymore because there's no pressure when it's in free fall, because it's considered a free body. So I don't know if you knew, they don't claim gravity is a force anymore. They claim it's the warping and bending of space-time, because physics shows that objects don't go towards the ground, it's the ground that comes up towards the object. So that's the reality. It's the Earth is in constant motion, because again, in order for something to have orientation, you need to have motion. So the Earth is a level plane that's in constant motion.
Yeah, no, that's definitely like a good way to look at it, but like I don't think that mean like I don't see how gravity would be a theory, because like no matter what
the pulling force of gravity is a theory. The motion of the Earth is provable, scientific. Yeah, it's a pushing force, not a pulling force. So you understand how motion works. Something needs to press something else in order for to have any motion. That's how an engine works. That's how everything works that has motion. Something needs to press on it to have motion. So when an object is being released, I don't know if you knew, accelerometers, like your phone, you have an accelerometer, you could download an app, and basically it detects acceleration in any direction you move it, up, left, down, any direction you move it. When it's in free fall, it detects zero acceleration. Again, because there's no force that's acting on it. It's considered a free body. That's why it's called free fall. So they decelerate. Objects decelerate in free fall. They don't. There's no force pushing them down, basically, or pulling them. It's the Earth that comes in contact with it again.
That makes sense.
It does make sense. 100%. So I mean, do you guys have any like questions? About this topic?
Not really, no.
No. I mean, if you guys want to give this a look, these are the 6 main proofs. I mean, you guys could take it, and that's my channel. I mean, you guys could give it a look. Maybe you guys could see yourselves right there. Yeah. So I'm glad you guys stopped, and thanks for the chat.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you guys take care, man. All right. You see, when you don't have a bias, the motion of the Earth makes perfect sense. You know what I'm saying? Especially that physics is showing that there's no motion, there's no effects of motion like buoyancy. There's no pressure to create that buoyancy, right? Because the water squirts out. So, all right, I'll put these away, and we'll get into the topic real quick. We'll start off. See if I even have time to go over these emails. Like, there's 2 of them, but one of them is pretty long. Like, well, not that long, but I don't like reading, I was never a reader, so I fucking hate reading. That shit gives me a headache, low-key, but yeah. Alright, so let's start off with the video I uploaded prior. We'll just go over it. I'll just play it through and go over it real quick, just to prove the point that in order to have a pressure gradient and buoyancy, you need motion of a container, you know. So I'll go ahead and play this, and yeah, we'll just talk about it, and yeah.
So this is the setup for the first of 2 buoyancy experiments I'll be doing. A water bottle as the container, and a camera mounted onto the reference frames that I'll be accelerating, which is the dolly. The reason why we have to constantly accelerate to recreate buoyancy is because we're connected to the Earth, which is already in constant motion. And in order to overcome constant motion, you need constant acceleration. As you can see, the air bubble is centered, which means the bottle is level and at rest. The air bubble will always be displaced or pushed relative to the motion of the bottle. When I accelerate the bottle, the pressure of the bottle pressing on the water creates a pressure gradient. The water is then able to push anything that's less dense, like the air bubble, in the direction of acceleration, which is what we will call buoyancy. You can't have buoyancy without a pressure gradient, and you can't have a pressure gradient without a contained system that's in motion. For the second buoyancy experiment, I have a cargo van as the container, a helium balloon, and an apple. I also have the camera mounted onto the reference frame that I'll be accelerating. As soon as I accelerate, the pressure of the van pressing on the air creates a pressure gradient, with the most dense air towards the back of acceleration and the less dense air towards the front. The air is then able to push the helium in the direction of acceleration because it's less dense, but the air cannot push the apple because it's more dense. Therefore, the apple remains at rest. The apple only appears to move in the opposite direction of acceleration because the camera is also moving with the reference frame. The helium balloon has true motion and the apple has apparent motion. In order for the Earth to be motionless, you need a force moving in opposite directions at the same time to be able to accelerate the apple in one direction and push the air and helium in the opposite direction without any motion of the container. You would also need this same force to accelerate a container without any displacement or buoyancy. In other words, you have to believe in a magical force that can accelerate a container without any pressure or buoyancy, and also be able to create pressure and buoyancy in a motionless container, which is the literal opposite of what physics shows. Physics proves that you can't have pressure and buoyancy without motion of a container, and you can't have motion of a container without pressure and buoyancy, proving that the Earth cannot be a motionless plane.
So there you go. So again, those are two different experiments with 2 different mediums, as you know, as the ones, you know, creating the pressure and the buoyancy, you know, water in the first one and air being in the second one, right? And then different substances as well too, the air bubble being pushed and then the helium balloon being pushed, and also with the apple, you know, not being able to get pushed, right? So we have different systems that we create all the effects that we see, you know. With that motion, we could also create orientation basically, and it changes the vector. As you can see, like the strings, you know, show the vector. That'll be a plumb line. It shows the vertical, which will be the vector, which obviously that's up for debate. But yeah, when you accelerate, not only does the apple obviously appear to swing towards the back, changing the vector of the string, the helium balloon also follows that same vector, but getting pushed to the front. But the string of the helium and the string of the apple are showing the vector that changes, right? And also, if we were to horizontally accelerate or contain water, we will get the same thing. We'll get a new vector, and the water will displace relative to the vector, which will be a diagonal. Because again, nothing can move in 2 directions at the same time. So if you're moving up vertically and then you add a horizontal motion to that, what happens is you start moving at a diagonal line in space, basically. So the water displaces relative to that when you add horizontal acceleration, because it's already being displaced level when it's at rest. Again, gravity's, you know, well, the motion of the Earth, basically. Again, water displaces, the apple, helium displaces, you know, air displaces, you know, all in using different mediums as well, you know. So again, we could change the orientation we can have weight, because once the container is pressing on something in that direction, the object is going to want to remain at rest, but it's going to resist, so it's going to create resistance. So based on how much mass it has, that's how much resistance it's going to basically produce when the pressure is being applied, and that's what you would call weight, you know, if you were to put a scale in between, you know. So again, all the effects of motion can be easily explained by a container that's in constant uniform motion, you know. So stationary earthers have to believe that there is a force that can accelerate this van, or put it this way, first of all, that there's a force that creates this motion, you know, changes the vector. You can see that. You can see that. Look at that. You can see most of the strings follow the vector. In other words, you change the vector within the container with motion. So, but if you claim that it's something else that creates the vector that we experience, then you need a motionless container like this, or you know, it doesn't have to be a van, but just to be a container that's motionless. And then using electrostatics or whatever it is, you know, I hear that you need to put a positive plate and a negative plate or whatever. Do whatever you claim it is, recreate the experiment and recreate the vector, right, on a motionless container, create this effect. Not only that, get this same container and accelerate it without any displacement. Now imagine the apple, when you accelerate the container, imagine the apple not swinging towards the back while the container is being accelerated, because that's the claim. You need a force that can accelerate the whole container without any displacement. So without the apple being swung to the back or the helium being pushed to the front by the air, you have to accelerate the container without those effects. You know, because why? Because that's what you claim happens in free fall. Again, in free fall, oh, this is acceleration down. Again, if we go to the bubble, same principles. Not only do we know exactly when the motion starts, because the bubble starts to move, but we know the direction of the motion, you know. So if I was to ask you guys, what direction is the acceleration here, up or down, right? It's obviously down, you know, because the bubble is being pushed down, you know. They want to make you believe that you can accelerate this bottle without any motion of the bubble as well, basically, without any displacement, you know. So that will never happen. You know, you need a force to accelerate basically the bottle, the water, and the air bubble all in one without any displacement, without the water pushing the air bubble. So you need to accelerate, you need to push the air bubble, the water bottle somehow, without the water pushing on the air, basically, because that's basically what you're claiming in free fall, which would be, what is this one? There we go. You're claiming right now it's motionless when it's moving, and you're claiming, oh, I put the wrong one. That's why. Let me go back over. Yes.
My name is George. Nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you.
I was wondering what this was.
Oh,
So
okay, cool. Yeah, so I have two very easy questions.
Okay.
Just to test people's common sense,
Okay.
obviously, but
Alright.
they're elementary level, obviously.
Okay, no problem.
So they actually have to do with the orientation of water.
Okay.
So when we have air and water in a water bottle like this, and the water
That's so stupid.
No, it's
Okay,
very
okay.
easy. Trust me,
Okay,
you'll get
okay.
it. And the water bottle is at rest. So we
Yes.
agree that water always goes to the bottom of the container and always pushes the air to the top.
Yeah.
Regardless of the orientation of the bottle, water always goes to the bottom and pushes the air to the top.
Yes, sir.
When the bottle's at rest, right?
Mhm.
That's a fact. So since we understand that fact about water, I'm showing you these two. I painted the water blue with
Okay.
good coloring just to make it easier to see.
Okay.
I'm showing you these two water bottles. Which one is not in the correct orientation?
This one's not.
You got it. You got it. Why would you say this one?
Because you said that you painted this blue,
Yeah,
and like
the water's blue.
Yeah, the water's blue, so it would never be at the top, especially if you're holding it upside.
Exactly.
So, and it's always gonna be right here.
You got it. Yeah. So I
Thank
took it like this. Yeah. I took it upside down.
Oh yeah, that's sick. Okay, yeah,
I
that's
took it
perfect.
Like that. Bam.
And that makes sense too.
Exactly,
Most
you got
definitely.
it. Perfect. So this next one's even easier.
Okay.
Again, it has to do with water as well. So another thing about water is that it always finds its level. You know, so regardless of the orientation, I could tilt it slightly, but water always levels out.
Yes, sir.
You know, that's another property of water. So what could be another word for level? Just
Flat.
Okay, that's a good one. Horizontal will be the proper definition.
Okay.
Because you could have a straight line that's on the slope.
And water's never gonna center up like this. It's always
Exactly.
gonna be like this.
Exactly. Because you could have a straight line that's on a slope. You could say it's flat,
Yeah.
but it's not level, right?
Yeah.
It needs to be a horizontal
Horizontal.
straight line.
I got you.
Since we understand that fact about water as well, at rest, especially.
Okay.
Which one of these two represents level as we know it?
This one.
That's good. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this one, and water shows us that. You want to know how we were tricked?
What's up?
Do you believe the Earth is a ball?
I believe it's round.
Exactly, like a sphere, right? So NASA claimed to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of.
Informative on this.
Oh
one,
yeah,
right? Good with
I've
this
been
stuff.
I've been doing this for a little bit.
Yes, sir.
So they do tell us the radius is 3,159 miles because they're supposedly going around it. So they need to know the dimensions, right?
Yeah.
So based on the radius, there needs to be curvature every mile. So in the first mile there's an 8-inch drop, second mile 32 inches, and third mile 6 feet. So it has to increase because again they're not claiming it's a slope, they're claiming it's a curve.
Yeah.
So that every mile has to increase.
Yes,
so if
sir.
we went out to a giant lake that was miles across, they're telling us that the water's going to be bending 6 feet in 3 miles, but water's going to show us that it's going to be parallel, you know, to anything above it. So this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe of physical measurement of the Earth. So if I was to ask you respectfully, what will be the #1 proof or reason that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
Well, let me see. Because I mean, I don't know. Like when I look at pictures of like the solar system and stuff like that, and like globes and stuff like that, because I know that the world is huge.
Okay.
And like the surface that we're standing on is flat, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, in a wider scale, it's definitely round.
Okay, so you think water's level locally, but then at a longer distance it starts to curve, basically, right?
I don't know how to. I don't know.
Because I mean, if water, I mean the oceans, right?
Yeah.
They have to be wrapping around a ball, basically.
I would say that then.
Exactly. So yeah,
And they're held together because of gravity.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
So gravity. I don't know if you knew. What will be gravity? If I was to ask you, what is gravity?
Gravity is the thing that keeps us like on the floor, keeps us grounded.
Right.
And then it's the force that keeps us from like floating away.
Right. They claim gravity is a force, right? But I don't know. Do you know what a force is?
Can you educate me on what a force is?
Yeah, so a force is, in mainstream terms, it's force equals mass times acceleration, right?
Okay.
So in simple terms, that just means mass is something, like an object, and acceleration just means motion.
Okay.
So a force is just something that's in motion, basically.
Yes, sir.
So they're claiming that there's something magical in the air that accelerates a bottle towards the ground, but the fact is that, I don't know if you knew gravity is just a theory, because there's actually not a force pushing this or pulling it down. So I don't know if you heard of the Einstein theory of relativity.
I haven't.
Okay, so they basically acknowledged this. Einstein acknowledged that fact. So he came up with basically a mind-bending explanation that nobody understands to explain the fact that when you release an object, it's not the object that's coming towards the ground, it's the ground that's coming towards the object. Because the real force is the motion of the Earth.
Really?
Yeah. So because again, the Earth is not flat. Again, because flat has nothing to do with orientation, and the Earth has orientation. So the Earth is in constant motion, and that's what gives us a vertical. You know, and water's level relative to that. You know, perpendicular, in other words, right? So let me ask you this: you think there's a possibility that the majority of us have been tricked to believing that Earth is a ball, and maybe we were, maybe it's not? Do you think there's a possibility? Yeah. Okay, so you're open to the idea that we have been lied to, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's actually good. So, I mean, do you have anything that comes to mind that maybe that convinces you or that makes you believe anything other than pictures?
That makes me believe that the Earth is round? No, not really.
Not really. So just pictures, right?
Yeah.
So NASA actually admit they're not real photographs. They actually admit they're CGI. So they admit they make them in a computer. So they're computer generated images. So photographs from outer space don't exist, and for two simple reasons. One, again, because water doesn't bend, so the Earth is not a ball.
Okay.
And two, the idea of outer space as an environment that we can travel to, it doesn't exist, basically. So that idea is just an idea. So outer space is just a concept, basically.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Nice to meet you.
So here, let me give you a flyer, and my channel is there, and you can check out some other conversations I have.
All right, bet.
And then you can probably check this one out as well.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you.
Take care,
Have a
man.
good one.
Yeah.
What was your name?
William.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
William.
you too, man. I kind of got a little tongue-tied there, asking one of the questions there that I normally ask. I almost brain farted, basically. I couldn't even say it. Kind of funny. Nah, but that was good. No, yeah, he seemed like a really nice guy. You know, he was very, very, very polite, I guess. You know, like calling me sir and stuff. Not really used to that, so that was cool though. He seemed very nice. That was good. Okay, what was I going over? I even forgot what I was going over. Oh, I was going over the yeah, that they want us to believe. Yeah, let me put that in there. Oh man, which one did I get? Alright. Oh, it's this one. So they want us to believe that when the air bubble has motion, the bottle is motionless, and when there's no motion to the bubble, is actually accelerating. So they want you to believe the opposite physics that we actually experience in free fall. So right now it's motionless, and now it's accelerating supposedly, even though the bubble shows the opposite effects of what we actually experience, you know? So this is what we experience when we accelerate. We experience motion of the bubble when we accelerate, and no motion of the bubble when it's not accelerating. That's what we can show with different substances as well, not just air and water, you know, again, using helium. Same effects, different substances, you know, proving, you know, that there needs to be a pressure coming from below. And how does buoyancy debunk the globe? Well, because if we could prove that it's not objects coming towards the ground and it's the ground going up towards the objects, then that wouldn't even make sense from a globe perspective, because from a globe perspective, here we go. If you drop something, for example, here in North America, the Earth will have to be coming up to it. And if you drop something in Europe on the other side, the Earth will have to be coming to it on that side. So that means in all directions, basically, 360 degrees, you know. So, oh, in three dimensions, by the way, which is more than 360 degrees. I don't even know how much is that. 360 times 360, right, or something. Point being is, you have to be expanding in every direction, 3 dimensions. So the Earth will have to be expanding, you know, which is fucking retarded, obviously. You'll just be torn apart by the second, you know, basically. Because apparently objects accelerate. You know, there's an apparent acceleration, right? Apparently, by the second. So it will mean the Earth will have to be expanding. Even if it is a constant expansion, you know, it's retarded. So yeah, a constant motion of the Earth debunks the globe Earth and the whole heliocentric model, because it just wouldn't work. You know, you don't even need to get into water level. You don't even need to get into the horizon. You don't even need to get into any of that. Especially just visible observations. Like, it's retarded. And looking at maps, trajectories, and all that. And that's fucking retarded. You don't even look at it. Just understand that objects don't accelerate down, and it's the Earth coming into that's in constant motion. Again, the Earth being in constant motion is what makes it level. You know, motion is what gives orientation, and the Earth has orientation. You know, flat Earth, something flat doesn't have orientation. You know, has nothing to, you know, flat has nothing to do with orientation, and Earth does have orientation. You know, so I would.
Good luck.
You want to take some information? Here, you could take it with you. You guys are good? Okay. Yeah, they were reading the sign. They looked a little bit interested. So I'm like, I mean, if you're even slightly interested, why wouldn't you take the info? Actually, I guess not. All right, so I guess I'll go over these emails real quick. We'll start off with the first one. So I'll go ahead and read them, I mean, what better way to respond to them? Because I never replied to these emails because I was gonna respond to them on video, just in case anybody else has similar questions to these. You know, I can answer them here. You know, and I'm pretty sure if you went out of your way to send me an email about this, I'm pretty sure you're gonna watch this video. So, you know, this is a response to you as well. So, where do we start? Okay, it's this one. So this is from Marcus Biederman, right? And it was sent to me on November 13th. So about 3 weeks ago, going on 4 almost. So Earth is in constant motion? Question mark, latest YouTube video. Hello, William. Your efforts to educate people about the reality of our Earth is admirable. Thank you for that. I just can't believe what you say about the theory of the Earth moving upwards. Okay, you don't have to believe it, you know, it's what physics shows. But again, I'm not asking anyone to believe it. You know, I'm just showing practicality and basically showing what's required to have the conditions that we experience here on Earth, you know, and then that there's no other way to recreate all of these effects with one force, that being something in motion, you know. So you say that the Earth is moving upwards in constant motion. If that were the case, then the Earth with the firmament is a closed system, then it will not exert any force on objects in the system. I mean, obviously, I mean, if you stand on a scale, I put anything on a scale, you know, it's gonna read, you know, pressure, you know, aka a force, aka motion. You know, even a helium, anything that's less dense in the medium is gonna also, you know, register a force, motion, you know, that being the push upwards. So I don't know what you're talking about here. If that were resistant, then it would not feel any force in the direction of movement. Just like if you do not feel any force against the direction of movement in a closed car or train traveling at a constant speed. Again, you don't feel that because you're already on Earth, so you're overcome by the constant speed of Earth. So the only way to feel the effects is by constantly accelerating. That's the only way to overcome constant motion. So that's why, you know, you don't get that same feeling when you're in constant motion than when you accelerate, because you're in contact with the Earth in the car, for example. You only feel the force or weight again when the vehicle accelerates, again, because that's the only way to overcome constant motion, just like I showed with the buoyancy experiments. This is a law of physics. No, it's not. That's just you claiming that, you know. But according to your theory, contrary to what you say, the Earth will then have to be in a constant acceleration. Again, it could be in a constant acceleration because it's in constantly changing direction, which actually the tides, in my opinion, shows us that. You know, the horizontal movement of waters that we call the tides shows that the water, that the motion, that the water's reorientating relative to the vector, the motion vector, that being the motion of the Earth. So the Earth is not moving in a straight line. So there's a constant change in direction, creating a constant acceleration while remaining at a constant speed. So you don't have to be accelerating, getting faster, faster, and faster. You could simply just be changing constantly changing the direction to create the acceleration. According to your theory, contrary to what you say, the Earth will then have to be which will be then an infinite speed. It's ridiculous. That's what people like to do to misrepresent. I don't know if you're doing this on purpose or if you just fell into the propaganda, right? And you just believe it. Again, at the end of the day, I don't know you, but that's just a misrepresentation. And you don't believe that either. Furthermore, I mean, you know that. Furthermore, your theory will also imply that the entire Earth system moves in space, including a heaven firmament, and this is pure fantasy for me. Okay, just because the Earth is in motion, that doesn't mean that outer space exists now. Like the claims about outer space, nobody knows what environment exists outside of the Earth. Just because we don't know what environment exists outside of the Earth, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That's like, because we don't know the mechanism of what creates the Earth's motion, that doesn't mean it's not moving. You know, that's pretty retarded. You know. But yeah, so that was the first part, and this is the second part. It seems much more likely to me that the entire principle of gravity can be explained by the density and buoyancy and electromagnetic forces. Again, you're claiming electromagnetism is affecting all of matter now to create all the effects that we see. You will need an experiment to even, so that we could even take this serious. You know, it cannot even be taken serious until you have a practical demonstration of, again, recreating these effects, you know, under certain conditions, you know, in a basically horizontal, you know, or in any other direction other than the vector we already experienced. You know, because that's no different than Neil deGrasse Tyson proving gravity by just dropping a mic. You know, you need an experiment to recreate that motion. That's the point. And again, you will need a multi-directional vector to recreate the motion of the apple going in one direction and the helium going in the opposite. So yeah, good luck with that. There are very plausible experiments in which objects on a floating balloon with a positive or negative charge are made to move up or down, which shows that the electromagnetic charge determines that again, you need this same force to accelerate an apple in the opposite direction. Again, you can't just use what we already experienced and say that that's proof. And again, that's no different than Neil deGrasse Tyson dropping a mic and saying that that's pulling force, or that's a bending and warping of space-time, whatever he calls gravity, you know, which is just a theory that objects accelerate down, but whatever. This is also what I can reconcile with my perception and my senses and what I know about physical laws. Obviously, you don't understand basic laws of motion. You know, you have to invoke, you know, electromagnetism doing things that it actually doesn't, you know. But, I mean, again, you don't have a practical demonstration for it. But I don't know whether you won't confuse a lot of people with a theory like that and therefore lose them. Again, water and air displacing under conditions of acceleration is not a theory. Could be measurable, testable, repeatable. Different substances can show that, you know. So again, every time you have motion of a container, there's always going to be displacement. That's a fact. That's not a theory. So if you claim that there's a force that can accelerate a water bottle without any displacement or anything for that matter, then the burden of proof is on you to show that, so that it could even be taken serious. You know, other than that, it's just cartoon physics. No different than pulling forces and bending and warpings of space-time. You know, in the false flat earth community, there are enough pictures of flat earth moving in space that are used to make us look ridiculous. Okay, again, just because we don't know what the environment is outside of the earth, it doesn't mean it has to be outer space. You know, that's a straw man, by the way. So yeah, that is a straw man, using a flat disk moving in space, right? Outer space, because nobody knows what the environment. It could be another reality like this for all we know, you know. So we could be in a reality within a reality, you know. So I mean, you could ask, well, what's outside that reality? Well, again, that's you going into further nonsense. You know what I'm saying? But to make claims that, oh, if you claim the Earth is moving, then it has to be moving through space, that's a red herring and a straw man. You know, again, it doesn't refute from the fact that displacement must occur if there's any acceleration of a container. I think you should be careful with your theories, and if they cannot be clearly proven empirically, then it is better to stay away from them. There are even a number of other possible explanations for how our creator did it, so I remain open to further insights. Again, you want to go into imagination land and try to find explanations to fit your bias, because that's exactly what you're displaying here, then you go ahead and do that. You know, that's the same thing like a globe earther accepting all the theories that they're told, you know, about outer space and about gravity and all that to explain away the belief in a cartoon. You know, that's no different. But again, if you want to go ahead and do that, you do that. Best regards, Marcus. All right, well, I hope that you see this video and see my response, and yeah, and for anybody else that has similar questions to this, you know, I hope that, you know, that I was able to answer them, you know. But okay, that was one email, and there's one more email. I guess it's a little slow. I guess I'll go over it, might as well. So this is from Alan, and this was sent to me on the 26th of last month, so not too long ago, about a month and a half. I mean, a week and a half. On the empirical motions of Earth, even though there's nothing empirical about it, but you just throw it in the title, right? That already shows you have a bias. Like just with the title alone, by the way. Dear William, I'm reaching out today with love and respect. Please don't take anything I'm typing with any sort of tone or malice. I watched your video. Objects don't accelerate in free fall, they decelerate. I don't even know why I read that. Whatever. I'd like to offer some friendly criticism to your position and the argument you use. So he quoted me here. I mean, you guys could pause it and read it. I'm not gonna read it all, but I'll summarize it. Basically, he just quoted me, and basically he's gonna respond to basically to my claim about, well, it's not even a claim, it's a demonstration that accelerometers register acceleration in all directions, right? Because obviously when you move the accelerometer, there's displacements that happens in the internals, and that's what registers the acceleration, right? When you move it, right? The displacement, basically. It's the same principles, you know, that uses. So in free fall, as we all know, there's no pressure, there's no motion down, so there's no displacement. So that's why accelerometers don't register any acceleration down, right? In free fall. So this is his response to that. The cell phone, I guess it's his explanation. The cell phone uses a charge disparity between two plates within the phone to measure force against the surface of the phone to detect, again, yeah, displacement. It detects the phone in free fall too. It just doesn't register because the mechanism to give the reading isn't triggered because there is no motion, because there's nothing touching the phone. Exactly. Exactly. You should look into the technical specs of how it functions and it make more sense. Should you come across someone in the street who knows the piece of technology works, your argument would suffer an embarrassing defeat. Like, I mean, you only prove that you need something pressing on it to register motion. I mean, you basically agree with the physics of how it works. So in free fall, there's nothing pressing up against it to register. So I don't know what you debunked yourself right there, but whatever. So he quoted me here again. Air bubbles rise in water. Hey, what's up, man?
What's up, man?
You want to give this a shot?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All right, there you go. There you go. So, two very easy elementary level questions, and they have to do with the orientation of water.
Okay.
So when we have air in water in a water bottle like this, and the water bottle is at rest, the water will always go to the bottom and push the air to the top, regardless of the orientation. That's just what water and air, does when they're at rest. So since we understand the fact about water, that it always goes to the bottom and pushes air to the top, I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see. But how I'm showing you these two like this, which one of these two water bottles is not in the correct orientation?
2.
You got it. Yeah. What would you say number 2? Just to prove the point, I guess.
Well, I mean, because water just doesn't float to the top.
Exactly.
Right?
You got it. Yeah. So I actually took it like this. Yeah, it's pretty common sense. Very easy. A child can understand it, right? So this next one, again, has to do with water as well. Water always finds its level. I don't know if you ever heard of that. So I could tilt the bottle in any orientation, right? But water always, forms a level surface, right?
Yeah.
What could be another word for level?
Level. I'm trying to figure it out. Like equilibrium.
Okay, that's a good one. But horizontal will be the number, like the one-word definition. Because you could have a straight line that's on a slope, but it's not level. It has to be a horizontal straight line. That's what level means. It has to do with orientation, right? So since we understand the fact about water, which one of these two represents water level as we know it? A or B?
B.
I mean, we're looking at the water. Which one represents level?
A,
right?
Yeah.
That's the obvious one.
Yeah.
So the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this, and water shows us that, right?
Yeah.
You want to know how we were tricked?
Yeah.
Do you believe the Earth is a ball?
Yeah.
Right? So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit, so they need to know the radius of the Earth if they're supposedly going around it. So they do tell us the radius is 3,159 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile it increases. So in the first mile is an 8-inch drop, second mile 32 inches, and by the third mile it should be 6 feet of curvature. So if we went out to a giant lake to physically measure for this curvature, that a giant lake that was miles across, the water's going to show us that it's going to be parallel or horizontal, to anything above it, especially when it's at rest.
Yeah.
But they're trying to tell us that that lake is bending 6 feet in 3 miles and increasing more and more. So in 10 miles, it'd be 66 feet, So this will be the number one experiment to debunk the globe of physical measurement of the Earth, water in specific. So if I was to ask you respectfully, what would be the number one proof that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
Well, I just mean... That's a really good question. I've been pondering about that for a while.
Okay, that's a good thing. So you've heard of this topic before?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, okay. So.
Well, I just seen this experiment one time where people try to put a camera up really high, 6 feet over their head or something, and try to see if it comes out the other side, and then that would prove that the Earth isn't flat.
So apparent observations are one of the psyops that a lot of people are doing. Again, I'm not saying that all channels that are doing this are doing it deliberately, but they're definitely focusing on apparent measurements of objects and the distance is a red herring, because visually looking at something doesn't tell you nothing about the physical measurements of it. For example, if I told you to measure that tree just by looking at it, that's impossible. In order to measure something, you need to physically be able to access it in 3 dimensions, right? And so again, a physical measurement like this will be the number one proof. But yeah, visual observations, I would say those are kind of red herrings. They're false arguments. Again, they're just kind of there to so that you have inconclusive, answers basically. But again, understanding how water behaves, again, it always collapses because it can't support itself. This was going to prove that the Earth is not a globe, right?
All right. So you think the Earth is flat?
Well, I wouldn't say flat because, again, flat has nothing to do with orientation. Because, again, I could have this paper is flat, right? But if I have it like this, it's not level. So the Earth is level. Because because the Earth has orientation, and in order for something to have orientation, it needs to have motion. So the Earth is in constant motion. So I don't know if you heard, people claim that gravity is a force, right? But gravity as a pulling force that accelerates objects towards the ground doesn't exist. Because a force, it has to do with an object that's in motion. So something has to press on something to make something else move. So the Earth being in motion is the force that makes this appear to go down. But it's not this that goes down, it's the Earth that comes up to meet it again. So again, that's the real force, push.
I feel like the real force would be pull because gravity works as like the bigger the object is, like the planet, right?
Right.
Jupiter. Like the bigger the planet, the harder the gravity pulls.
Right.
Like, I'm just confused on that. And also, if you think the Earth is level, and you brought the argument about the tree earlier, why don't we just measure the Earth?
Yeah, we could physically measure the surface of water. And water is always perpendicular to the vertical. That's another thing. I don't know if you know what a plumb line is. It's when you have a weight tied to a string. So that basically makes a vertical line, right? A string. So that shows the vector, right? But so water is always perpendicular to that because I don't know if you knew, all of those verticals, the plumb lines, are all considered parallel to each other regardless of the distance. So on a globe, downward vectors couldn't be parallel to each other because they're all at different angles towards the center on a globe. But in reality, verticals, plumb lines, are always parallel regardless of distance because they're perpendicular to the horizontal of water, the levelness of water, right? So physics shows us that the Earth is not a globe. You know, it's impossible basically. So just real quick before you go, have you heard of Euclidean plane geometry? So it's the geometry that's assumed to create everything we see, from buildings to railroads to bridges. So basically all the blueprints that engineers use don't take account of Earth's curvature. They're all plumbs and levels. So all blueprints are horizontals, basically.
I mean, we wouldn't have to take into account the curvature of how big the Earth is, right?
Well, again, it's 8 inches per mile squared based on the radius that they're telling us. So it's not that big like we actually think, because again, it's only 3,000, under 4,000 miles in radius. You know, again, so that curvature should be measurable after the first mile. You know, and it increases every more after that. You know.
Okay.
So yeah, so there's a reason they don't tell us the curvature per mile. They only tell us the radius, because once we start putting this into perspective, the curvature per mile, it starts to look ridiculous. You know, it doesn't make any sense basically.
Okay.
So yeah, so here's my channel, and there's 6 main proofs in there that you could give a look.
For sure.
And yeah.
All right. Well, I get to keep this, or
you get to keep it, and then thanks for the chat, man.
All right, for sure.
Yeah,
man.
you take care.
You too.
Yeah. I was going over that email. Let's see, what time is it? Oh, we still got a lot of time. Okay. I was going over that email. I forgot where I was. Okay. Oh yeah, I was going over it. Okay, so air bubbles rise in water. That's an effect of pressure. The only way for there to be... Okay, he's quoting me. Again, what we just went through, the only way to have pressure is through a pressure gradient. To have a continuous system motion is the only way to have a pressure gradient and buoyancy, basically. So he's quoting me on that. So, here we go. This is his response. It's your assertion truly that pressure gradient doesn't exist in a stationary containers. To take one example of pressure mediation due to motion and apply it uniformly to the lap frame, that's a huge mistake, and I'll explain why. So apparently he's gonna prove that you could have a pressure gradient in a motionless container. Let's see how he does it, right? That's a huge mistake. Okay, in your video, you accuse flat earthers of denying physics. Okay, let me see. Okay. In your video, you accuse flat earthers of denying physics, while you're redefining and experimentally proving lap frame and undermining your position without realizing. So lap frame, by the way, it basically takes that the reference frame is at rest. That's key, because he interprets something at rest to be motionless, and that's where his misunderstanding comes in. Because when something's at rest, it simply means that it doesn't change its position over time within the reference frame. It doesn't mean that there's no forces acting on it. It just means that it doesn't change its position over time within the reference frame. So something that's at rest doesn't mean that it's motionless. Because again, unless you just want to believe that, or you know, but that's exactly what he does. But there's other ways to falsify your motion claims. See Newton's bucket. See Newton's bucket. The only reason Newton and subsequently mainstream don't interpret the experiment correctly is because they all think the Earth is in motion, and yet the only viable interpretation is that the Earth is at rest. Again, at rest, meaning not motionless. So this is the only lap frame that makes the correct properties. Again, you have to assume that based on your bias. And there's nothing practical to back up that claim, by the way. Practicality shows otherwise. What happens to the water? And if you don't like the bucket, I have a hitchhiker analogy for the horizontal. I don't know what that means, but whatever. It's an undisputed fact that we're stationary and motionless. No, it's not. You didn't prove anything here, but okay. But in 1905, all of physics had to redefine to cover this up: relativity and relative motion. We, level, stationary, motionless, have all the science. It's relativistic pseudoscience that has to be combined with the lap frame again, which doesn't mean it's motionless. The lap frame doesn't mean it's motionless. Stationary, non-rotating, motionless, not upward accelerating or downwards accelerating. Again, you didn't really prove anything, but showed that you just assume that at rest means motionless. Hey, what's up, man?
Are you putting the figure interview?
Yeah, 2 very easy elementary level, multiple choice. You want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
Yeah, so first question, they actually both have to do with the orientation of water. So when we have water and air in a bottle like this, and the bottle's at rest, the water's always going to go to the bottom and push the air to the top, regardless of the orientation. You know, that's what water does. You know, it always pushes air to the top, right? So since we understand that fact about water, you know, I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see. But since we understand that fact about air and water, how I'm showing you these 2 water bottles, which one is not in the correct orientation?
Go with number 2.
You got it, yeah. That's the correct one. But why would you say number 2?
To be honest, just because it's upside down.
The water is on the top, right?
Top,
Yeah, exactly. It shouldn't be on the top. So I actually took it like this. So yeah, that's the correct orientation of the bottle.
So number 1 was...
No, you got it. No, you got it. This was not one that was incorrect.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Right.
Yeah, perfect. So number 2 is even easier, but it has to do with water being level. So regardless of the orientation of the bottle, water always finds its level. You know, that's a fact as well. So what could be another word for level? Level.
Like in place or something?
Yeah, for example, when water's at rest and the surface of water is always level, what could be another word to describe that?
Like distribution?
Okay, yeah. Well, horizontal will be the one-word definition for level, because we could have a straight line, but if it
That's okay. You mean, okay.
yeah, I mean like geometrically, basically. Yeah. So again, because we could have a straight line that's on a slope, but it's not level. It has to be a horizontal straight line. You know what I'm saying? So since we understand the effect about water too, when it's especially when it's at rest, which one of these 2 represents level as we know it when we're looking at the water? A or B?
We'll go with this is when it's horizontal?
Yeah, this is yeah, exactly.
It's supposed to be horizontal?
Exactly, yeah.
Then I would say A.
Yeah, you got it. That's the obvious one. Again, water doesn't deviate. The surface is always level, you know what I'm saying, when at rest. But the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this one. You want to know how we were tricked? Do you believe the Earth is a ball?
Like round?
Yeah, like a sphere, like spinning in outer space, right? You believe that? So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites, you know, orbiting the Earth. So they need to know the radius of orbit if they're supposedly going around the Earth. So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,159 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile. So in the first mile is an 8-inch drop, second mile 32 inches, and by the third mile there should be 6 feet of curvature. So if we went out to a giant lake to physically measure for this curvature, the water is going to show us that it's going to be level to anything horizontal above it, but they're trying to tell us that the surface of water at a lake is bending 6 feet in 3 miles. But again, this will be the number 1 experiment to debunk the globe, a physical measurement of the Earth. So if I was to ask you respectfully, what will be the number 1 proof that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
The Earth is round?
That the Earth is round, yeah.
The fact that we just can't like fall off, or like the fact that you can go from what's it called? Like you can go from Russia, go around, and then come to America.
Okay, so circumnavigation.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, nobody knows the full dimensions of the Earth, but that circumnavigation could easily be explained from a level surface. So again, this is not what the Earth looks like. I'm just going to use it just to explain circumnavigation. But the north on a level Earth will be a center point. So east and west circumnavigation will simply just be circles around the center point. So the circumnavigation that doesn't exist, that nobody's ever done, is north to south. That circumnavigation doesn't exist. And then if you ask me, it's because if you go south, you know, you're never going to come back to the center. You know, nobody knows what's over here. That's part of the cover up of this lie. You know what I'm saying? So have you heard of this topic before? That people, you haven't heard of people that don't believe in the globe, or have you heard of flat Earth?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I try to stay away from flat Earth. Flat Earth is like a word that's been weaponized to basically discredit this information. But the fact is that the Earth is not flat, because flat has nothing to do with orientation. So the Earth does have orientation. It's a level, and the reason, and in order for something to have orientation, there needs to be motion. So the Earth is in constant motion. So gravity as a pulling force doesn't exist. Gravity is a pushing force. So it's the motion of the Earth. So when you release an object, it only appears to go down, but it's the Earth that's coming back into contact with it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the real physics behind that. You know? So I mean, just before you go, is there a possibility that maybe we have been lied to about the shape of the Earth, or are you 100% convinced that it's a ball?
I'm 100% convinced.
You're convinced that it's a ball? 100% convinced?
Just based off everything else.
So what convinces you? Just one thing. I mean, what convinces you? If I may ask before you go.
I mean, just all the debates and having, like, I've had teachers give us a whole lecture like how you're giving me right now. If I'm being honest, I don't really pay attention. So
okay, so you just believe it. Let's just be honest.
But I believe it based off the facts that, you know, like my teachers have presented us with, and also on the fact that, like I said, that you could really just travel around. Like, for example, it would be far to go from Asia to North America going this way, which is why people fail to realize you can go other way.
Okay, so circumnavigation is what convinces you, is what you would say.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, I would say that, again, it's possible from a level surface, circumnavigation, but what wouldn't be possible from a level surface is north to south, which will debunk it will prove the globe if you could circumnavigate north to south, theoretically, right? But that has never been done. You know, that's a thing, you know, but I guess, I mean, is there anything else? I mean, before you go now? So here's my channel. You could take this with you, by the way. Inside are the 6 main proofs that debunk the globe. And you can check out some of my other conversations that I have with other students, you know.
Okay.
And thanks for the chat.
No good day, man.
You too, man. You take it. All right, so let me just finish this email. Where was I? Okay, was I here? Oh yeah, stationary. Yeah, I was past this one. So okay, he quoted me here again. You guys can pause it and read it. Oh, I'll just read it. It's not that long. Gravity is a pushing force, not a pulling force. Pulling forces do not exist. I mean, everybody knows that. That's a fact. Flat earthers have to explain gravity as something imaginary in the air that accelerates objects towards downwards without any effects of motion. Not only that, but also pushes air and helium up at the same time also, you know, so it has to be a multi-directional vector. If someone comes across flat earth, they're going to hear ridiculous claims like the earth is motionless. The earth being motionless is a ridiculous claim that defies all known physics. Again, not theoretical physics, known physics. And it's pretty basic physics too. It's not even like advanced physics. Like, it has nothing to do with, you know, engineering a phone, or, you know, making a car, you know, or an airplane, you know, aerodynamics, you know, none of that. It's pretty elementary physics. It's the fundamentals that make all of these other, you know, inventions even possible, other technologies. You know, it's these fundamental principles that anybody could understand. You know, it's how you use these principles that you use to create, to be creative, and that's how technologies advance. You know, by understanding these basic principles. Okay, so here we go. So this is the last response. I assume you've heard of other explanations. Reject them for various reasons. I don't just hand wave dismiss, by the way. I think that's what he's going to talk about. But I don't just reject. You know, I go with what reality shows me. I don't just reject claims. And again, any claims without anything practical, I am going to dismiss. Why would I take stories serious without anything practical? Like, that's retarded. You know, I'm not going to do that. And you're just a broad stroke summarizing or bolster your case, so I'm not going to list them off. Of course not. Don't do that, and here's why. Now he's telling me what not to do. I think maybe you should start your own channel and you know, say the earth is motionless if you want, but to try and tell me not to, like, come on. Your hand wave dismissing everyone else's research into mechanism of gravity, the effect, not just the cause, to make it seem like we don't have viable options in upward acceleration is the only option based on your current understanding of physics. I mean, it's based on the understanding of the laws of motion and displacement, and how water reacts and how air reacts in water, and how helium reacts in air, you know, and even in denser objects as well appearing to move. This is, you know, that's what reality shows, you know. And then what research into mechanism of gravity? Again, research without anything practical is useless, you know. So you could say you have all this research and all these, you know, there's just claims without anything to substantiate them. So those are just words, empty words. You're flipping water bottles and dropping cell phones. You still got so much room. Wow, way to dismiss that just by mocking it real quick. You're just flipping water bottles and dropping cell phones. Like, wow, yeah, that debunks the whole heliocentric model. That easy. It's literally that easy to debunk the whole heliocentric model. And for some reason, if you consider yourself a flat earther, I don't know why you're in so denial of this. It's kind of weird. But you're gonna go ahead and mock the easiest thing that debunks the globe? It's a little weird, but whatever. You still got so much room to learn and explore. Apparently he knows it all, and he's just giving me advice, like, you know, like a parent. He's giving me advice now, apparently, because he's in a higher ground. It will be a waste of you to stop now and be content using your activism to explain to people your philosophical differences with the terminology used to describe the shape of the realm we live in. I don't just use terminology, I back it up with physics, you know. Yeah, I have to use words to communicate with people, and yeah, I have to use certain terms. So yeah, you could say it's terminology, but it's backed by physics, you know. You, on the other hand, you just have terminology, and a lot of it is just word salad. It doesn't even make any sense. And then, so you know what I'm saying? So you have nothing practical, and then just words, empty words, basically. So I didn't go into citations, further explanations, etc. in this email for briefity's sake. If you're interested in hearing more about the things I'm referencing, I'm happy to talk and provide citations, videos, demos, etc. for everything I mentioned. Yeah, please, Alan, if you see this video, please leave it in the comments, your demonstrations of what creates pressure and buoyancy in a motionless container, and also accelerating a container without any pressure or buoyancy present within it, you know. So those are two extraordinary claims that motionless earthers have to believe, and you're gonna need a practical demonstration for both of those. So yeah, I'm open to it. Please leave it in the comments when you see this video, a link. You can you know, you could even send me another email with your findings or your experiments, and I'll share them on the next live, you know. And yeah, I mean, and that's pretty much it. Those are the two emails I wanted to go over. was taking care of some work there. My occupation, right, distracting me, basically. I mean, that's what occupations are for, by the way. For people that don't know, your job, over 90% of jobs are obsolete. They're not necessities. We create the necessity because because we're stupid, basically. So having all these roads to transport goods and all this shit coming in from other countries and all of that is part of the control system, you could say. They don't want people to be independent, to do things locally, to basically grow your own food, to have community farms, they don't want food to be in abundance because they're using food to control. That's how they control. That's how you control humans. That's how you control any animal, if you think about it. You do it with food. You control the food. Whoever controls the food controls life, basically, if you think about it. So that's part of the reason why they, take ownership of the land as well, and we have to, just pay a rent. Because even a mortgage is paying a rent. But even when you're done paying a mortgage, you're paying taxes. So you're still paying a rent. It might be less, but you're still paying. Guess what happens when you stop paying? It's no longer yours anymore. So doesn't seem fair. Seems like they always have ownership, right? Even when you own it. Because when you stop paying taxes, it gets taken away. So again, it's part of the system how it uses, people's ignorance against them, basically. Just believe whatever you're told, and it's pretty sad in a way, but fuck, sucks. Fucking sucks. Yeah, I'm starting to hear people say that, oh, I don't care about the motion or the motionless earth. Like, that topic I don't really care about. What? That's like a globe earth is saying, well, the shape of the earth doesn't really matter. I have to go to work and stuff. So whether it's flat or globe, doesn't really matter. That's usually when you have nothing else to say. And now I'm saying motionless flat earthers say that. Even though they believe it's motionless, in my opinion. But now they're saying that they don't care. So now they don't have a stance, right? Because they don't want to be ridiculed. Which is fine. But if you don't care about truth, you shouldn't be in this topic to begin with. The shape of the earth being the biggest lie. Well, the second biggest, because it's the fact that objects accelerate down. If you don't care about that being the biggest lie, then you shouldn't be in any truth conversations or in this whole topic to begin with, in my opinion. So that's just my opinion. You can do whatever you want. Ooh, it's a little chilly. There you go. Some guys are dancing on the camera. Shit bear, gotta walk my dog. Nice. Pierce of Adam is the gradient level. It should be. It should be. You could measure the pressure difference is measured in height, and I would assume it's a pretty constant like across the plane, right? There might be slight deviations, just like the accelerometer, right? That could be to the constant change in direction of the earth, why we have tides. When something is not moving in a straight line, that means part of that has to be moving faster than something else, right? So here I actually wanted to, so again, if you believe in the motionless earth, you have to believe that this bottle is motionless right now and that it's being accelerated by some other force, right? Yeah, apparently. That there's a force that can accelerate, create buoyancy, in other words, in a motionless container, right? Some magical force in the air has to be pushing on the water, because it's not the bottle that's pushing on the water, apparently, because again, the bottle has to be motionless. A magical force has to push the water to push the air to create this effect in a motionless container, to create buoyancy, again. The kind of force, again, it goes back to cartoons. This is the kind of force you have to believe in. Not exactly like this, but basically pretty much similar to this. Let me see where it's at. It's right here. Here it is. This is the kind of force you have to believe that you're able to do to push the water without pushing the bottle to push the water, basically. So just pushing the water to push the air bubble. This is the kind of force.
flowing for a minute.
You're having is only temporary, right?
Yeah, pushing the water.
I don't want to talk about it.
Look at that.
If you
without
face
a
this
container.
issue instead of avoiding
You can push the water without a container. So that's the kind of physics you have to kind of believe, basically, that you're able to push the water without a container pushing up against it. You know, we know water has to be contained, you know, because again, you need a push for water to have pressure even when once it's contained as well. You know, so you need to have an imaginary force that's pushing the water into the container, though. And you know, and it's not a container that's pushing it, it's something else, you know, in the air, right? So that's the kind of physics you have to believe in, you know, whether you like it or not, you know. And also the same force able to invert itself and push helium up while it pushes things down, you know. So it's just fucking ridiculous, fucking retarded. It pushes water down, it pushes, you know, it's just, oh my god, it's crazy. It pushes a ping pong ball down, but in water it pushes it up. You know, think about that. Ping pong ball drops in the air, but it rises in water. So this force will have to invert itself to go to push the ping pong ball down, and then to push it up once it's submerged in water. Like, come on. All right, let me go over some comments on my other phone. I usually don't go over comments like this, but since I have time to kill. All right, let me see. Go over some of the comments. All right, so let me go back up a bit. Okay, beyond belief, the stationary Earth believers have done enough damage to program domes and ice walls and floating pizza dishes. These are the preconceived notions people have of everyone doubting the globe concept. That's true. Beyond belief, exactly. Let me see what else we got. Andrew, yep, Mike, they gave up one load of that. Let's see. Prince of Adam, technically you dropped your pen, so no, you just released it. You didn't push it down or nothing. You just released it, and then there's a magical force that pushes it down, supposedly. Woman in detector, when we have no other words to fill in fall, what do you say? Things are. That's where experiment comes into talk about. Exactly. You know, when fall is when using the word falling, it's kind of like open-ended, right? It's not really specific. Then we have to go to physics to see what's actually happening exactly, you know. Okay, let's see. You guys want to take some information with you? No? You guys are good? Okay. Alright, I'm just going to go to the recent comments now. Okay. Euclid's bendy water. Totally BB, yet we have adults defending this twisted game we play, and we're even in relationships if you don't play. A true sign of mental illness. Exactly, yeah. When people, you know, get so emotional and just talking about reality, for example, you know, and we're willing to end relationships and all that, like it just shows that you know, you're displaying mental illness, you know, dysfunction, you know. It's just words. You know, first of all, just a conversation, and it's our reality too. Why wouldn't you care about our reality? Why would you get triggered, you know, talking about our reality, right? You know, it's kind of weird. Yeah, I would say that is Stockholm syndrome. You know, defending your captors or people that told you these lies because you don't want to see them as as the bad guy, I guess. I don't know. Kind of weird. That's right on. Yep. Exactly, beyond belief. Stockholm syndrome. Alright. Well, I feel like I got my points across, and again, I'm open. If you're just joining the live, I went over, you know, how buoyancy debunks the globe, and I went over the experiments, and, you know, with different matter, states of matter, you know, and you know, showed what's required to have or recreate the effects we experience here, or the conditions we experience here. And yeah, if you think you have a different, you know, if you have a different claim that there's something else causing all of these effects, then and the burden of proof is on you to prove that, you know, practically, you know, using words, and, you know, it's not going to be enough. So, Euclid's bendy water, yep, all fear-based actions born from ignorance. I've lived in myself at times in the past. Dell mentioned it recently. Ignorance is the true root of evil. Right? No, yeah, that's true. So here's the thing. I actually never actually believed the earth was motionless. I was always actually like in the middle. You know, I never accepted the motionless earth. And even more when I would hear like Bible thumpers mention the motionless earth, you know, like that would turn me off completely when I would hear the Bible talking about motionless earth, even though apparently it doesn't say that. But regardless, you know, when I would hear that, it would just trigger me even more to, like, you know, to not accept it, I guess, right? So I never really accepted it, but it just made it even worse. But yeah, maybe that's why, you know, a lot of people are having a hard time accepting this, because they did believe it, they bought into it, you know, and they don't want to be fooled again. It goes the saying, so you guys want to give it a shot?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So 2 very easy questions. They're elementary level, multiple choice. So they have to do with the orientation of water. So when we have air and water in a water bottle like this, and it's at rest, the water will always go to the bottom and push the air to the top, regardless of the orientation. You know, that's what always happens. Water always goes to the bottom and pushes air to the top. Since we understand that fact about water, I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier. But since we understand that fact about water, how I'm showing you these 2 water bottles like this, which one is not in the correct orientation?
This one.
Okay, yeah, you got it. That was fast. You guys agree?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you guys say this one?
Because the water's up.
Exactly. So I took it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys got it. It was pretty easy, yeah. So the second one's even easier, so you guys will get it. So it has to do with water being level. So water always finds its level, regardless of the orientation. So I could tilt the bottle, but water always, you know, forms a level surface. What could be another word for level?
Balance.
Balance is a good one. So the one word definition will be horizontal, because we could have a straight line, but on a slope, it's not level. It has to be a horizontal straight line. You know, that's what level means. So since we understand that fact about water as well, which one of these 2 represents level as we know it when we're looking at the water? Okay, that's good. Yeah, you guys agree, right? So the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you guys, have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this one. You guys want to know how we were tricked? Do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
Yeah.
Right, in outer space, right? So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of the Earth if they're supposedly going around it. So they do tell us the radius is 3,959 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile it has to increase, because they're saying it's a curve, not a slope. So in the first mile, there's an 8-inch drop, second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature. So if we went out to a giant lake that was miles across and physically measure for this curvature, the surface of that lake is going to show us that it's going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it, but they're trying to tell us that that lake is bending 6 feet in 3 miles and 66 feet in 10 miles. So it just keeps increasing, right? So this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe, a physical measurement of the Earth, water in specific, right? So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, what would be the #1 proof that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
Because it's round.
But why does it make? Why do you believe that? But why is it round exactly?
Like
all the pictures and stuff. Like,
Okay, pictures.
I don't understand why they would lie.
Okay, that's a separate question. But you say pictures. You guys have anything else?
Like say if you look straight, you can see like kind of.
Okay, so basically because we have a limit of perspective, you think that's the curve of the Earth, basically. Okay, so we'll talk about pictures first. So the pictures from of the Earth from outer space. By the way, I have them right here. I can show you. They actually admit they're not photographs; they're actually images. And the reason why they call them images is because they're made in a computer. So they're actually CGI. So they're computer generated images. So a real photograph from outer space of the Earth doesn't exist. So and there's two simple reasons why. One, because obviously water shows us that the Earth is not a ball. And two, an idea of outer space being a physical environment we can actually travel to doesn't exist. So outer space as an environment that we can go to doesn't exist. So that's just an idea. It's just a theory. So nobody knows what's outside of the Earth. That's the point. So the Earth is a contained system. You know, that's why we have air pressure. You know how you're able to breathe? Yeah. You expand your lungs and the air just rushes in. It's because the air's trying to escape. So that's what air pressure is. Another thing about air pressure is that in order for air to have pressure, there needs to be something pressing up against it, right? So it's the Earth that's pressing up against the air that makes helium balloons go up, for example, because it's the air pushing up against the helium. So when people say that gravity pulls objects towards the ground, it's actually the opposite. It's the Earth that's in constant motion that comes to the object. The object doesn't go to the ground. It's the ground that comes up to the object. So that's the reality. You know. So I don't know if you knew gravity as a pulling force is just a theory. So then the reason why it's a theory again because there's nothing pushing the water bottle towards the ground or anything that you drop. Basically, it's only an apparent drop. You know, it looks like it falls because we're moving with the Earth as well. You know what I'm saying? So. If I was to ask you guys, is there a possibility that we have been lied to about the nature of the Earth, or are you guys 100% convinced that it's not?
I am 100%.
You guys are 100%. So what convinces you besides pictures? Because obviously they admit they're cartoons.
I think it's just a picture. I feel like
hills.
So if I showed you guys a picture of me flying, would that be enough to convince you that I can fly?
That's true. No, that's true.
No? What if I showed you a video of me flying?
Maybe.
Then you guys would believe I could fly?
No, I wouldn't believe that.
What about if I could walk on water? If I showed you a picture? No? What about walking through walls? No. What? See, all of those claims defy physics, right? So you know that doesn't exist, right? Water bending, the surface of water bending, especially when it's at rest, defies physics as well. So these images defy physics. So it's no different than me showing you a picture of me flying and expecting you to believe me. But most people do believe this, and the reason why is because we're taught this light when we're so young, like when we're 5 years old. That's when they first show us the globe. And then it's just propaganda after that, the news, you know, movies with the universal globe, you know, all that CGI. Everything about outer space is made up. Nobody knows what's outside of it. You know what I'm saying?
What do you believe?
Well, I don't have beliefs. I just either I know something or I don't. So I know that this place was created because that's the first law of thermodynamics. It says that something cannot come from nothing, basically. So again, the Big Bang says that we came from nothing. Again, anybody trying to tell you how this place was created, like a creation story, is just a religion. And the heliocentric model, the ball Earth, they do have a creation story with the Big Bang and evolution. But that's no different than any other religion trying to tell you what this place is. The fact is nobody knows. But it was created somehow. I don't know how though. So I don't have beliefs, like you say, yeah. So I know the Earth is in constant motion. I know that it's a level plane. Because it's in constant motion, it has orientation. And what created it, what's outside of it, that's unknown. We know what else is unknown, the dimensions of the Earth. So we don't even know what the Earth looks like the true layout of it. So that's unknown. I would like to know, so I would like to explore. So maybe you guys, you know, when you guys get older, you know, maybe we can actually explore this place and find out what it is, you know. But do you have any questions for me about this topic before you guys go?
No.
Let me ask you before you go. If it was true that we were being lied to, right, about on a mass scale, would this be something important to know? Yeah, right? Could you think of something that's more important? Or a bigger lie, in other words? Than the whole lie of the shape of the Earth and our existence? What was that?
How we see things.
Exactly, no, yeah. But I would say this is the biggest lie, though. There's no other lie if this was true, right? So, yeah, by the way, this is the #1 censored topic online, by the way. So the way they're censoring it is by ridiculing it. So they just hand-wave dismissing, they have these experts just ridiculing and basically just talk about stories about the sky. Exactly. They would avoid physics of how water behaves, for example. They're never going to talk about a physical measurement of water. What they're going to talk about is just visual observation, like you were talking about the limit of perspective. So, for example, if I hold this water bottle and I start moving away, it's only so far before it just becomes before you can't see it anymore, right? Everything gets smaller at a distance, right? So the horizon is basically just a limit of perspective. It's just how far we can see. That's the horizon. You know? So it has nothing to do with curvature. You know what I'm saying? So all right, before you guys go, if you guys don't have any other questions, here's my channel. You guys could check it out. Here, I have another one you guys could probably take. Because I'm sure you guys don't live together, right?
No.
Right. You guys look kind of young still.
Yeah, we're in high school.
Oh, you guys are in high school? You guys are visiting?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, wow, wow, wow. Yeah, so here, you guys could take this. Here, how many? 2 more? All right. And you guys could check it out. I have conversations at other universities as well with other students. And here, you can have one too. Take it. And then, yeah, check out my channel. You guys will probably see yourselves as well. Right there. Yeah. So thanks for the chat. All right, you guys take care.
It was nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah, I haven't even got to the horizon pictures that I usually show, or the stars. The stars is kind of irrelevant, but the horizon ones are cool. But it's in the flyer in the back, so I mean, all the main crews are in there, so it's still cool. 34. Oh shit. What time is it? I put an alarm because my timer runs out. There's only 2-hour limit here, parking. But I want to see if at 2 hours I can add more time. So at 2:14 I put my alarm. I want to see if I can add like another 15-30 minutes. Just for future, in case, you know. I know that I could do that, but I don't see why not, right? But since there is a 2-hour limit, you know, I don't know. I mean, you would think it resets, right? And you could pay another 2 hours, right? I would think that if you wanted to. So, yeah. So I'll wait a little bit longer. Yeah, the new way that I'm asking the question now, you know, water always going down and pushing air to the top, because that's exactly what happens. I feel like, I mean, everybody gets it right away now. Like, it's night and day. I knew it was the way I was asking it. If you guys go to like some of my first videos when I started first asking the upside down question with the water bottle, I was struggling with getting people to understand, you know, what they were seeing, basically, right? And I knew that it was the way I was asking it because it's a very simple concept, you know what I'm saying? It's very easy to understand. So I'm glad that I kind of found the words, you know, to ask this question, you know. And yeah, people get it right away, you know, like literally right away, you know. Again, they overthink it now when they think that it's a trick question, right? And that's the only time they overthink, and it's not even many, you know. But yeah, I'm glad it worked out. I knew it was gonna work like easy like this, because I don't know, I just had a feeling like, you know, it's very easy. Why am I not getting it? Hi, you want to give it a shot, or do you want to? Yeah, here. If you want.
Not be filmed?
If you want, well, that's the thing. I'm recording. I mean, if you stand on the side, you might not be able to be seen, but I'm also recording here. But I mean,
Can I stand right here?
sure. I actually ask questions. I mean, I could show them to you here, right? It's 2 very easy questions, so they have
You
to.
can't see me on the camera.
No, you can't. So they have to do with the orientation of water. So when we have air and water in a water bottle and it's at rest, the water will always go down and push the air to the top, regardless of the orientation of the bottle. You know, water always goes down and pushes air to the top. It's a fact. So since we understand that fact about water,
Let's hope I understand this and don't embarrass myself.
No, it's very easy. So I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see the water. But how I'm showing you these 2 water bottles, which one is not in the correct orientation?
What were you saying the orientation was again?
Yeah, so a simple fact about water and air, that water will always go to the bottom and push the air to the top, regardless of the orientation of the water, of the bottle. The water will always go down and push the air to the top, right? That's a fact. So since we understand that fact about water, how it behaves, how I'm showing you these 2 water bottles, again, the water's blue, which one is not in the correct orientation?
As in what it usually normally is? Or
Based
as in
on
like,
how water behaves. Which one of these 2 water bottles I'm showing them is not in the correct orientation?
Oh, that one.
Yeah, here you go. It's inverted, the water, exactly. So I actually took it like that. Yeah, you got it, you got it. So the second question is even easier. So another thing about water is that it always finds its level. So I could tilt the bottle, but the surface always forms a level surface. You know, it always forms a level surface. What could be another word for level?
What could be another word?
Another word for level.
My brain is foggy.
Yeah,
under
okay, it's
pressure.
okay. Some people will say.
I guess level structure, something like that.
So if we had a level surface, how would we describe that surface? How can we say the surface? Some people.
Tier.
Okay, some people would say balance, for example. I would the number one the one word definition is horizontal, because you could have a straight line that's on a slope, but it's not considered level. It has to be a horizontal straight line.
Yeah.
So that's what level be basically. So since we understand that fact about water as well, that it always finds its level, especially when it's at rest. Which one of these two represents a level as we know it?
Level as we know it.
As we know it, based on how water flows.
I guess if you're tilting it, it would be like this. But normally, if you're just like holding it like that, then it's like that.
But that's the thing. Even if I tilt the bottle, the surface.
Oh, then that one for sure.
No. The surface always finds its level, regardless of the orientation. It always forms a horizontal surface. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So,
but isn't that a horizontal surface?
You think the water? No. When we're looking at the water.
Oh, you're looking at the water.
Yeah, when we're looking at the water.
Oh, then that one.
Yeah, that's the obvious one, because I don't know if you were looking at the structure, but.
I was looking at the structure, not the water.
Yeah, the water. Yeah, obviously it's the correct one, right? So
Yeah.
the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been tricked to believing this is what the level is, even though we know it's this one, and water shows us that. Do you want to know how we were tricked?
What?
You want to know how we were tricked?
Sure.
Do you believe the Earth is a ball?
It's spherical.
Right? That's what they tell us, right? So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so you need to know the
You're not
rate.
saying the Earth is flat.
No, it's not flat, by the way. The Earth has orientation.
I know. It's just like, I hope you say don't say
No. So they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit. So,
Yeah.
so they need to know so they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, which means there has to be curvature every mile, and every mile has to increase because they're claiming it's a curve. So in the first mile, there's an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature. And in 10 miles, there should be 66 feet. That's like a 6-story building.
Yeah.
So if we went out to a giant lake that was miles across, if we, to measure for this curvature, they're trying to tell us that the surface of that lake is bending 6 feet in 3 miles. But we understand that the surface of a lake, when it's at rest especially, it's always going to be horizontal, in other words, level. You know what I'm saying? So this will be the number one experiment to debunk the globe Earth, a physical measurement of the Earth, water in specific. Now, I know you're talking about flat Earth, so I try to stay away from the word flat Earth because it's a way to measure up a general topic, because flat has nothing to do with orientation.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
the Earth has orientation. So in order for something to have orientation, there needs to be motion. So the Earth is actually in constant motion,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
always in motion.
exactly. So it's what makes it level, though. So when you release an object, it's not the object that goes towards the ground, it's the ground that comes towards the object. So from a globe perspective, that would mean that the Earth will have to be expanding in all directions if it's the Earth that's coming into contact with the bottom, which means that the Earth couldn't be a globe if it's the other way around, basically. So
I don't know. I learned when I was learning it in like 5th and 6th grade, the Earth, everyone says it's a sphere, but it's spherical.
oblate sphere, that's what they say. But again, water shows us that
It's not like an exact circle.
exactly. Well, have you heard of the term sea level? It's a term used to describe the oceans, level meaning horizontal. So again, the oceans are not bending around the globe. That's impossible, basically, based on how water behaves. So again, the Earth is not flat because, again, the Earth has orientation. So flat Earth, again, is just it's a way to misrepresent this topic, and it's just part of the way how they're censoring it. They're just ridiculing and dismissing. So nobody in the mainstream is going to talk about water, the physics of water, for example, or physically measured. So, do you have any questions for me before you go?
Why are you asking so many questions about water?
Oh, water, because that's the number one proof that debunks the globe. Water, the physics, the surface, like the oceans are not bending because the surface of water always collapses. Water doesn't have, it's not like Jello. Water, water doesn't have a form, and the surface always forms a level. So,
do you go here?
No, I don't go here. I just come here to challenge the students. But those are the 6 main proofs in there that debunk the globe. They all have to do with physics. And that's my channel as well if you want to check it out, some of the other conversations that I have.
So you're saying that the Earth is what?
It's a level plane.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a level plane.
Okay.
Alright. Not flat by the way.
Thanks for the question.
Yeah, no
This definitely
problem.
refreshes my brain after final.
Oh, wow. Yeah. All right. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah.
Take care. All right. All right, I'm gonna start wrapping it up a bit, and I'm gonna test to see if I could put more time, just to know for future. But I'm gonna start wrapping it up already. Yeah. The woman, she said, "Please don't say it's flat. Please don't say it." That was kind of funny. Oh no! Please don't say it's flat. Flat motionless plane. Alright, that's enough. Fuck. Oh man, I gotta put all this away too. Alright. I'll put it over here. Just in case. There we go. Let me stop this. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I got like 5 minutes to see to check that. Oh. Alright, that's gonna have to be it for this one. Thanks again for everybody that showed up and that likes the video. Yeah, see you guys on the next one. Peace.